Fasting space. We are moving into it today. Fasting process voluntarily opening up space in the body, physical space without food for some sort of purpose, trying to release energy in the body, give space for something that we don't need to be released. So I say simple fasting because that whole process is literally nothing. The process of fasting is doing nothing. We say very simple, but not necessarily easy to do. What do we do when it's difficult? If we're struggling, we want to eat something, or maybe even we don't, but we do it anyway. We say there's something to eat. It's right here. The decision is so easy. But do we really need it? Do we even really want it? Do we want to get into a fasting space to balance it out? Say every good thing we want, but everything in balance. Here's my thought of the day for you. Instead of swallowing the food that we maybe say is not our best choice at this moment, can we swallow our pride instead? That's the centering thought. Swallow the pride, much easier said than done. I'm trying to bring us the very deepest thinking. This is what I want. Try to get really into the root level. Why do we make the decisions we do? Why do we even feel the way that we do? And most importantly, how do we change and mold our experience so that we can be walking the path that leads to our success? That's climbing the mountain. That's what we want to do. And experience joy, peace, and contentment at the same time. If we are climbing a mountain, so to say, getting to a spot, we say we hit a number on a scale, for example, but we aren't happy and joyful. We're not feeling settled, at peace, content. See, I would not call that a win, but I would call it a win if we found a way of being in the world where we encountered a space of peace, contentment, joy, happiness, satisfaction. If we didn't accomplish some initial purpose, but we found a place like that, wouldn't we say that that is good enough, And then we want to open up the very best possibility, which is that both of these things can come. My experience working with people over a decade and a half on this type of process is that finding the latter is the path to the former. Finding a way of being, a path of contentment, is the path ultimately to finding the type of success that we are looking for on a health path and losing weight. When I think of this topic, pride, this is the type of thing, we talk about fasting as a mirror. We can look, a mirror doesn't lie. We say a mirror is showing us truth. We're trying to move toward health and weight loss. We have to know things that are true. Sometimes truth can be a little bit hard to see. But then it's good, right? Because it's honest. We want to be very honest. I tell people, be honest with yourself. I'm going to give you another thought from this very deep and powerful book. The mountain is you. The mountain is me too. We're all climbing a mountain together. I'm looking in a mirror like anybody else. I tell you today, when I was thinking about this topic, when I was reading in the book, I thought, think of the food space, okay? Do you, and it's totally fine to do, but do you watch cooking shows? Do you follow food influencers? You think about people. Now, I'm super into food too. I'm in the fasting. I hope I'm communicating that. The joy of eating. I think that's a video I have on the channel. Fasting for food lovers. That was the video. And who isn't, right? Food, such an incredible, wonderful, essential thing. The fasting space isn't about denial of food. It's about bringing enjoyment to food, but in the proper balance so that we can enjoy food and enjoy fasting, that they all blend together in this beautiful dance of health. But you can take a food influencer if that's the only side of it, if we don't have the balance, then it can be taken to a space that is not grounded. To me, where I want to go in this session today, a fasting space, very grounded and very humble. Think of the opposite of humility, a food influencer showing like the very most incredible food is like, look at me, look at how like I am eating the most delicious thing, and it creates this thing like, I want that, I have to have it. Hey, I'm just going to give you permission if you need it today. I'm going to say, you know what? Like, you don't. It's like, it's okay. Fine to watch something like that. Fine to be inspired. We want to cook delicious, healthy, fun meals. I'm not discouraging that in any way. But I am pushing back against things that are hype and things that create a cycle of feeling like, keeping up with the Joneses. Like, oh, if I'm not eating this most extravagant thing, okay, that can be taking us in a direction that we don't want to go. I say the humble path to realize a fasting space can be just nothing at all. It's not flashy, right? Not necessarily popular outside of niche circles, Like you're talking with your friends, like, are they saying, oh, like I cooked this incredible thing? Everybody posting Instagrams of, like, look at this incredible thing. Okay, I made one. I don't even have an Instagram. Well, I have an Instagram, but I don't post anything on it. I just grab my name in case I ever wanted to. I posted one influencer type photo for fasting. Okay, do you remember the hit? Is everybody following? Simple fasting community post. Here, I show it to you. Here's my fasting influencer photo. Okay. I was sitting out in my backyard. I was having a fasting day. I was like, I need to capture fasting in a way that is like fun. So I filled up my wine glass with water. I let it sit so it got the little bubbles and put it on the plate. I had fun with it, okay? But see, this is trying to be fun, but it's very humble, right? I post this on a fasting channel. Not a lot of times you're going to post this, hey, like, look at me. I'm like having water, Not quite as exciting as some, extravagant creation. This would be like swallowing the pride, right? Saying, hey, I'm going to be content just in this space because this is the road less traveled. Remember in the fall we read Robert Frost, The Road Less Traveled. Our society doesn't post influencer photos like this. And I'm not saying that they should. To me, fasting is a personal path. I don't think people should. This is the thing about swallowing the pride. I don't think we need to be out there being like, oh, look at me. I'm fasting. It wouldn't be it's not really the spirit of what I'm trying to communicate anyway. How do you feel about it? Listen to what this book says. To overcome our attachment to pride, we have to start seeing ourselves more wholly and honestly. I just dissect that sentence for a minute. Like, see, this is the whole book, right? The book confronts us with things. This is why I love it. The book it's like a truth seeker. It's trying to say, like, what is the reality? It doesn't sugarcoat anything, right? And, when we're just reading this to ourselves, we're just hearing it. I'm sitting here in my own little room by myself, You are wherever you are. Even to say that first thing, to overcome our attachment to pride, it can feel like, am I attached to pride? Like we start resisting. I know I do when I read it. I say, well, I'm other people prideful, but not me, okay? But then it's challenging us, right? Because even to approach it, we say, how much self-judgment do we have already? We were struggling with that yesterday, leaning into it about don't judge. Because when that was yesterday, we judge others and that flows back, we judge ourselves. And then it's that judging of ourselves that can just trap us in this little box. So here's a spot where we can do it. Not to judge ourselves, but to realize, like, how are we actually doing here in the core being? And then this is the positive side of it. See ourselves more wholly and honestly. Who doesn't want to do that? Like, to see ourselves wholly, we think of the whole being, like a holistic approach to wellness. We want total health and wellness. So I like this. Instead of thinking that we need to prove to everyone around us how perfect and flawless we are, and how much pressure is there to do that in society these days, right? We see ourselves more realistically as people who, despite our weakness, are trying our best. See, this is so thoughtful. This is so thoughtful. We are trying our best, right? In the end, it looks far worse to hold on to what is wrong, or what isn't serving us, what isn't our path. Because you care about what others think, because you care more about what others think than it is to let go, because it's what is right for you. Does pride keep us on a path that isn't really ours because we care about what others think? Can't you just see how that happens so many times to so many people? Everybody trying to keep up an image or a perspective. What will other people think of me? We have pride that keeps us acting in a way maybe isn't serving us, but we're afraid not to do it. Swallow the pride. Ultimately, they say people will respect you far more if you can acknowledge that you are an imperfect person like everyone else, learning, adapting, trying your best. In reaching this mindset, you also open yourself up to learning. By not assuming that we know everything or that we need to seem perfect, we admit when we're wrong, ask for assistance, lean on others. Swallow the pride is just opening up the bigger space. Say, we're not perfect and we don't have to be, thank goodness, right? And we don't have to appear that way either. See, this sort of process to me help us take all the pressure off. I want people moving in a health direction. No pressure. That's what I say at the beginning, right? Fasting is an open, voluntary space. Nobody forced to do it. If you're forced to do it, it's not fasting. Something much darker. Fasting is openness. Fasting is free of judgment. It's moving away from every type of pressure. By swallowing our pride, they say, we're opening ourselves up to growth. Our life will be better for it in the long term. How they close it. Swallow the pride instead of the food sometimes. That's what I would say. When it's the appropriate time to do it. When you feel called to do it. I like to use the analogy of a dial. We're trying to dial in on the amount of times that it is right to do that. We were saying yesterday, like, what if we stopped counting calories all the time and just counted the times that we eat in a day? Maybe you count 1, maybe you count 1, 2, or 3. See, those are the types of numbers. This is the type of math that to me is the simple. We can count 1, 2, or 3 in a day, and then we just work that space. That's not a flashy thing. I've been thinking it's hard to write a book about that, I think. We'll see. I try to think I would write a book if I could find a way to fill an adequate number of pages. But the type of book that I would write as I think about it is, it isn't pages and pages trying to elaborate how to count to 3 in a day, you know? That's the simple part. The part that needs the exposition, the part that we're doing here, right? Is dialing in to the mental, emotional state that puts us in the mindset to actually do it, to actually overcome the barriers and the obstacles that stand in the way of doing a simple sort of thing on a routine basis in a way that brings joy and contentment. That is the real challenge. How are you doing about it? How are you feeling with this process? Are you finding a space like that, or are you not finding a space like it? If people were finding a space like it, I would love to hear about it. If people are not finding a space about it, I would also love to hear about it, because this is the process, like the book was saying. Reality-based, grounded, seeing things as they actually are. You have to have a clarity of vision like that, because wherever that space is, being totally open and honest is how you flow through it. It's how you challenge it, and then ultimately open up yourself to learn and grow. This is certainly what I want for myself. I'm giving this talk to myself as much as I'm sharing it with anyone else. Being totally open and honest to learning and growth. Open up to the potential. Swallow any pride that we have. Whether that's instead of actual food, or it can take, of course, this process, bring it to any area in our life where we are trying to move forward, where we have been stuck, where we are trying to learn and grow, whether that is in our relationships, it's in our work, it's just wherever we are at, it's in our health. I was listening to, I don't know what it was, a little podcast, a little discussion yesterday, a couple days ago. Have you heard of this framework called 4-burner framework? They're saying you can imagine life like a gas stove. We got 4 cooktops on it, 4 burners. I'm adapting this a little bit. They didn't exactly say it this way, but it's like basically you get 220%. Okay, this is how I was thinking of what they were saying for your burners. Meaning you can have 2 burners going 100%. You already blew 200% of your 220. The other 2 burners going to be on simmer. And the burners are our family, our friends, our work, and our health. Pick your top 2. You want to run 100%. You want to be 100%, knocking work out of the park and 100% health. Is that going to sacrifice family and friends like that is building this holistic, like we are saying, space in our life? And what are the compromises you want to make? People in the discussion were arguing, well, this isn't really true, and other people are saying, well, it's true. And it at least provides a way to look at kind of a little bit more holistic framework. Let's just use it as a thought experiment, or you can for a moment. If it were true, if you had 220%, it's like you say, well, what are the compromises you make? I don't really like running my family at 10%. Or let's say your kind of work and friends, but health is down at 10% because you're running 100% on these other burners. I tell you, when I was thinking about this for my own self, I'm like, man, I jerry-rigged up my burners and ran 200% on work for quite a while. And the whole thing was going to explode. And the health and everything else was detrimental. So this is something to think. How do you bring it into balance? What if you brought 2 of your dials down to 75 and you opened up another 50 to fill it up? But it's like some people say, no, I can go 100% everywhere. But like, can you? Can you really? See, I'm bringing that up because this is pride coming in. Somebody says, I can do everything all the time, absolute maximum. But it blinds us to see that we can't most of the time. Like, pretty much can't. Can't be 100% committed to everything you can give to your work. And, I mean, it takes time and investment to be healthy. That's why fasting, I say bring it in, because it simplifies things. Less cooking, less shopping, less dishes, more space. It can help you optimize if we're on these burners. It can help you optimize, say, trying to get the most health for the least amount of times, help us flow through a space as smoothly as possible. If we're trying to free up resources to keep our other burners cooking. But the pride would say, no, I can do it all. I can max out all these things. When probably the more grounded thing for the average human person that is like everybody truly is, that isn't just trying to create an image for someone. We have to bring balance to all of these things. I say very often, like the health burner, man, that is our society. Health burner is the back burner. That's on simmer, right? The flames are hitting everything else, and health gets put on the back burner, on simmer. I, of course, as a doctor, as somebody who is trying to inspire people toward better health, I say let's try to bring some balance into that equation. Give some more heat on the back burner to that health process. No analogy is perfect, okay, but we invest in our health. We send some resources in that direction. Okay, it's going to flow back out. Here's where that burner the analogy doesn't quite go. When we invest in our health, when we devote our intention and resources, that is an investment that pays dividends. That flows out, okay? When the energy is flowing in the health space, you've gotten your good sleep and you're rested and you have core nutrition and you have optimized the metabolism and the insulin resistance is getting vaporized and that thing is snowballing and you're feeling better. Like, obviously that bleeds over into the whole rest of our life. More energy for work and family and life, and this is what we want. And then as we optimize our health, I think our health span, that we're just optimizing our time in that space that we can actually keep the burners going. So important. So I say don't neglect it. Don't put health on the back burner. Don't let pride tell you that you got this. You don't need to do the fundamental things. You're going to be fine. All these things can burn it out. I mean, I can reflect on that, from my own experience of basically burning out to some degree in the modern health system. Nobody teaches you to say no, okay? If you don't have boundaries, which apparently I didn't. Apparently my boundaries were destroyed during my residency training and I never rebuilt them. I remember having lunch with a fellow doctor somewhere just in the first, 2 years of my medical practice at the university. And wonderful friend of mine, and they were already burned out at year 2. And I was just ramping up. I mean, the insanity got so much more for me. I just remember sitting there at having lunch. They were thinking of quitting, which they did, and it was wonderful for them. They're like, how are you doing it? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I was just thinking to myself, I'm just great. That's what I'm thinking. I'm tough. Like, I'm sorry to say this. I'm not like you. Okay, I'm tough. I can do it. Okay, really, I was just so unbalanced that I didn't realize that I had my health on the simmer on the back, and I was destroying setting the groundwork of destroying health that someone else is not willing to do because they're smarter. Oh my gosh, I gotta find some balance. It took me a lot longer. Very stubborn. Okay, I'm very stubborn. I realize. I could just plow forward for years, many years, without realizing how out of balance. See, that was definitely pride that was leading me in a bad direction. Have you ever done anything like that? Or am I the only one? No, no, no. Pride very much. Pride very hard to see, but it's everywhere. And as I spent yesterday preparing for this, I going through, like when I read the first line of the book, right? I say, "Oh, pride." It's like we immediately, some sort of ego center in there, say, "Hey, that's not something that I deal with. That's something that other people deal with." But then I started writing. Have you ever done this? Get out a journal and try to just write. Like sometimes writing, in my experience, is an easier way to get down into the deeper layers of the emotional state than it is to just try to think about it. We just sit there, everything kind of abstract when you write it out. So I started doing some journaling last night, write it out. That's where I found this big pride moment for myself, where it's like, oh, like I can see if we were to run this whole game over again, if I was back in that space, if I had more awareness, I could have had such a deeper conversation with my friend and realized that we were actually in the same space, but they were so much more aware of it. They swallowed the pride way before I did. And, could have helped so much, so much. But this is what we do in life. We are not perfect. This is part of the process, bringing down the ego, embracing a humble path that leads us to a space of being more grounded. The word humility in our society, not very popular, I think. So who wants to be humble? Everybody wants the best photos and the best experiences, right? We have a prideful culture. Certain side of pride, of course, is good. We want pride in ourselves, meaning we want to have a good relationship with ourselves and be encouraged and love ourselves. See, that's the positive side of it. But always reality focused and always grounded. See, this is bringing everything into balance. Good to have pride in our work, have pride in our relationships. This is the positive side of it. To feel good about things of value and things that we are moving toward, right? But not the type of pride that is just puffing us up, not the things that are apart from reality, and not the things that are pulling us off of our path because we're afraid of what someone else would say. This is why we want things that are rooted and grounded. And the other side of pride is humility. And really the side of pride that is good is also the side that is facing humility and just reflecting on it. And so to me, the fasting space, a very humble space, that's what helps it to be grounded. See, if humility, or if we say the thing we're seeking is ultimately contentment. I was listening to a gentleman the other day talking that he was some sort of, I don't know, Eastern spiritual figure. He does a lot of meditation training. The interviewer was asking him, because he's like very stoic appearing. He's just kind of, like this, very calm. He's saying, but like, are you happy? He's like, you're very calm. You say you're at peace. You're very calm. I was like, are you happy? He was like reflecting on happiness versus contentment, and from his perspective, we can see how that shakes out for our own perspective. He said, contentment much better than happiness. Contentment much more grounded and stable. Contentment providing a platform where happiness can emerge from, more than just chasing happiness. And then if we don't have it, we can end up in a state where we're neither happy nor content. See, that we end up a lot. That is how we get into these cycles. We're always needing some sort of distraction. We're craving something to take away the fact. So he says, don't seek happiness, seek contentment, and then you're more likely to find both. See, I really like that. To me, that is the humble and grounded space. have you been in a space where it's like where you're really not content? Like this is that experience. Isn't that almost the definition of what anxiety is? Isn't that the type of thing that leads to a discouragement and a depression? Is like it's like a total lack of happiness and contentment. And isn't it pride that would say, I deserve this. I deserve happiness. We feel insulted at the fact that we don't do it, and all these other types of thoughts that spiral in these negative thinking. Isn't it the humble path to say, like, I don't even need that? Like, we're not even seeking happiness, but like we're finding grounding and contentment. So like so many things in life, let go of the thing that we actually want in order to find it. Yeah, thank you. I think this is like a huge area where it is. You say, I know, man, this is the second area that I dug in, in my own journaling last night as I was going, through this. So the first thing really early in my practice, saying already, if I was thoughtful, could have recognized things were out of balance. And then I came to it like this. That was maybe somewhere much later, like 2018, 2019. 2019, that's where it was. I had really realized, like, I was so strung out. You have no idea how many different things I was doing. Oh my gosh. Running a huge internal medicine practice, and we got going the whole weight management, clinic on top of it. And that's all good things. It was all good things. And teaching medical students on the hospital wards and medical director of the clinic and launching a research program. And it was just, the amount of stuff is just all good things. So I gotta say, you have to, in life, you have to swallow the pride. You have to learn to say no. You have to say no to good things in order to allow room for better things, like just space to breathe and help your health to flourish. But this is what I always said, and I did everything myself. I had some, a lot of issues to work through. Say why this was the observation I finally came, 2019, I think. 2020. Why is it so hard to ask for help? Like, that's what I was asking myself. And I realized it again. Like, I never asked for help. Like, look, I'm doing all these things. Like, and I don't know how to manage this. I didn't know. I was like, you just got to start saying no. You have to make hard decisions. You have to say no to things that are, taking you in a wrong direction. I needed help. To even learn how to say that, I started asking. I got a therapist, okay? Help start unpacking it. Like, it's like you need to start learning how to say no. I was like, it seems like you need to start learning how to ask for help. Like, see, that's the prides. This is where we come back to. The ego. This is the sort of things. I was like, oh, I'm not the type of thing. I always say, someone says, can you do this? Like, yes, because always you can. Of course, because then I think, I'm strong, capable. I'm the type of person that gets stuff done. I get a lot of stuff done. So you just say yes. This is like, you don't want to disappoint people. More pride. Feels bad to say no to people. No isn't a word people like in our society. You start cutting everybody off, say no, no, no. Then you say, oh, what are people going to think of me? But why are we really saying yes, right? Why, when we get into cycles like this, why do we really do it? Absolutely. That's the thing. Is it pride that is driving so many of these cycles that are driving us in directions that don't serve us ultimately? Even if they're good things, this is what I'm reflecting in my life. Even if each individual thing is a good thing, the collective direction of the ship, is it sailing in the right direction? Are we sailing toward greater health and wellness? Are we moving toward a land that is grounded and present I really loved that discussion we did yesterday about like what it is actually like to truly be present. I think so many times we don't even know what it is like to actually be present in a space. I was thinking about that, last night too. How, I hiked out by this beautiful frozen lake, surrounded by nature. A bald eagle came floating by, sat in a tree right over me. I'm just like watching. I'm like, this is a beautiful, beautiful space. Say, I'm not content here. It took a while to settle in to do it. And how often do we get into a space where we flow through a space where we went through that kind of craving for some sort of distraction, and then we actually settled in and we're like, oh, I'm good now. You know what I mean? Like I was reflecting on it. I try to dial in, I'm here trying to lead a mindfulness sort of based health experience. I try to practice what I preach as much as possible. And I was like, man, it's been a minute since I did this, and I flow through that space. And then you get to it. To me, it was like 15 minutes before I was like, whoa, I felt like I arrived, I was like, oh, I'm really here now. And I don't need to be anywhere else. Like I was able to, to do that in the middle of this beautiful space. Even took a while there. Harder to do. I tried to do, a meditation like that when I'm at home. Okay. But then I'm surrounded. I got a screen and my phone and the things. I was like, okay, you really got to be thoughtful, dedicated to open up a type of space like that. But that sort of space, when you really clear it out, to me is the emotional space where you can start to be aware of things like this. I'll tell you, it feels so sad to me to say now, I didn't have any kind of meditation or journaling practice for over a decade of my medical practice, Like it wasn't just till the last couple years where I started figuring out, oh, this is really important. Like not just in medicine, but in life. It's like, now I think in retrospect, like what a tragedy. Like what if I could have gone through that space and had some awareness? What if I was writing this out? What if I was just doing like the basic fundamental things to say, hey, like do a little check-in. How are your 4 burners doing? Are we balancing family and friends and health and work, And just to write it out. And I never even realized it was something to do. It could sound so foolish from the perspective of society. Like, oh, you're going to go just sit in a room by yourself. You know what I'm missing? I'm just missing going into like an empty room and shutting the door and sitting in silence. It's like, who would want to do that when we got Netflix, Who would want to do that when we could be looking on, any sort of social media? Wouldn't you just be bored? And of course you would be at the start. This is the thing. This is the barrier to entry to that. And our pride tells us you should never be bored. It's like, you're better than that. Like, this is not what we do in our society. We move beyond that. We don't have to be bored. We don't sit around. We're not like... Okay, but I think we need a different word than bored, exactly. Bored has so much negative connotation. I super loved this analogy, realizing, okay, getting into a fasting space, you're going to feel hungry. That's like a craving for food. It's hunger telling us like we want to eat. We feel it. The physical properties in the body, which are hormonal, which are hormones that are just trying to run a digestive system, trying to organize the digestion, bleed in because we're mental and emotional, physical being all together. Means that when we have these physical things happen in the body, we also interpret them emotionally. Makes us want to eat, even if we don't need the food, right? Then we feel it, okay? But you flow through that space. Hunger is hormonal. It always ends. Can take 60 to 90 minutes. Have you experienced that? A hunger wave comes 60 to 90 minutes. That's quite a while, right? It's not instant. There's a peak of that. It peaks. A most intense part that is usually 10 or 15 minutes. So the barrier to getting into a fasting space where you flow back out of it, have you experienced this in your life? You felt hungry, you couldn't eat or chose not to, and then the hunger went away. Help you to realize, oh, you could just, if you could see the labs, you could see ghrelin levels coming up and then coming back down, right? And you say, oh, it felt emotional, but it was a physical process in the body. The same parallel in the mental emotional space. We go into a space. We say, I want to go on to this path, open up space. Say, boredom in the mental space is the hunger of the physical space. We open up the mental space. We're like, no, I need to be doing something. I need to be scrolling on a thing. I need to know what is happening in the world. I need to communicate. It's like, that's like a hunger craving for the mind. We flow through it, just like we can flow through the physical space into a fasting space. We can flow through the mental space. That's what I'm outlining with my experience in the woods, right? That we go through the space. You feel the anxiety. Say, oh, I'm bored. I don't want to be experiencing this. But you pass through it. Same thing like the food craving, the peak experience. 10, 15 minutes to reach the other side. Have you experienced that? I'd say I'm embarrassed to say I went a whole huge part of my adult life, never experienced that. Or it was like I never intentionally opened up a space where I say, I'm just going to be here and try to find some contentment in a space, and then experience the jittery anxiety of like, I've got to do something to break through to the other side where the nervous system calms down. And then you're like, I'm okay again. See, this is what we're ultimately trying to get to. This is the whole thing of swallowing the pride and embracing a grounded and humble path. To find a space like that, isn't that what we're trying to find in life? To let the nervous system reset, to calm everything down and find a space of peace and contentment. To me, that is the flow that leads toward health, balance. Weight loss, just one point along that path in a much, much larger space of well-being. That's why I want it to be the fundamental part, the base layer. You got to be good with yourself first. Flowing into sort of that sort of space. That's why, all these things flow in each direction, but here's just one path I'm saying. What if before we dove in on a health path and we're like counting the macros and how much protein and carbs and what food choices and what all of this and that and calories and even then in our space, you can say before we even count 1, 2, 3 on our fasting process, can we just take a space and flow into that mental space of peace and contentment? Can we find it there first? Because if you can find it there first, if you can sit in a space, flow through what we say is boredom as if it was something bad instead of just the barrier to entry to something really beautiful and valuable, how much stronger are you going to be as you approach the physical task of opening up a fasting space? If you're building mental strength, where you say, oh, I've experienced something like this. There was anxiety happening. I felt a craving or a compulsion to do something. And you know what? I realized I didn't need anything. Within myself, actually, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to find strength and power inside of ourselves, the energy, the human spirit that is inside of us all, that is capable of accomplishing really difficult things, right? To lose weight and become healthy in the midst of an unhealthy society that you can picture like just a giant river that is heading downstream toward like the waterfall, and we are trying to walk the other way, do some water walking against the stream, and say, we're just going to plot a little bit of a different course. Okay? It's a big ask. I mean, it is. Okay? Have to be very, very grounded to do that. Think of being grounded in the middle of a stream. Hopefully it's shallow, right? Hopefully we've got our head over the waves and we can touch the bottom, and we're finding that grounding so we can take the steps against the current. Whatever analogy you want to use, say the deck is stacked against us, right? In the modern world, deck is stacked against us to be the healthiest version of ourselves possible. We want to flow in that direction when the flow all around us is heading in the other direction. If you're not mindful, if you're not grounded and present, like we're saying, you're going to get swept up in the flow the other direction. Happened to me, okay? Happened to everybody, okay? So wherever you are, like you're saying here, right? Don't have to be perfect. Don't have to look good. That's why I love this topic. Swallow the pride. The more we get into it, so often isn't this down at the really deep level that we've got to do that first in order to really get on our path. Even if it's difficult. Right? This is how we have grace with ourselves. Like we were saying in the book, have grace with ourselves. When you realize, okay, when we're really honest, like we're saying, we got a mirror here. We're just looking at the honesty of it. Trying to really get into the deepest and most profound space. See, that can be difficult. This is how we practice compassion for ourselves. Flow into that space. I've said you can do it the other way if you're having trouble doing that. See, I like the idea we can test these different paths. We have natural tools. I want to help people move in a health direction naturally so that there is basically no cost and risk. The natural paths are just ways of being in the world. And the natural way of being a human being is an experience of health. When the environment is supportive, health arises. So we've got natural practices, movement practices, mindfulness practices, healthy eating, and fasting practices are just tools in our toolkit, help us approach the obstacle that we have. So here I've tried to flow really hard into this path, opening up the mental space first to find this contentment on the other side of boredom. Then we come to see boredom, we invert it, we say, oh, this is actually good. This means I'm moving in a space. It's like this is what it feels like to disconnect from all of these things that are pulling me in a different direction, to center myself. When we stop seeing it as like, oh, this is negative. This means I'm not experiencing some joyful thing or whatever it is. Okay? No, we reinterpret that. That's something that can be pulling me off center. This experience that I've in the past called boredom, now I recall it something else, centering. This is the feeling of centering. What does it feel to become grounded? As we call it something positive. Maybe we need another word for it. Okay, I'm not saying that is easy. Okay, that takes practice. It's not the type of thing, oh, you just go sit in a room and you just do it. Oh, I just did it one day. Now maybe it could be, as I even say it, maybe you do it, and then you flow into a space, you're like, oh, it just happened, so it could just happen. Like, I made it through, I experienced the boredom, sometimes I'm even going like this, I'm like, oh, I just want to get up and walk out of the room. And sometimes I do. I'm not perfect. And so maybe try one, you just went through it, and you're like, oh, I made it into a much better settled space right away. Okay, but if you don't, then it's a practice. Say, I'm just going to give myself 5 minutes. I'm going to try to make it 5 minutes. Then the next day, I'm going to try to make it 6. And maybe we don't make it on the 3rd day, but the 4th day we show up and we make it 7. Or we just are back to 5 and we have grace, you see? Okay, so that's a way. And then maybe by week 3, whatever it is, like, oh, wow, I made it, And I was like, oh, I did feel better. Even still, I don't know if am I 3 years in on trying to stay in a cycle of a meditation practice. Am I better at it now than I was before? Yes. Am I perfect? No. Like it's still, I start to do it and then I end up going and doing something else. But sometimes, I don't know what it is. 1 out of 3, I really make it through. And I'm like, thank goodness I do that. It feels so much better. The rest of my day is better. I want you to experience something like that. Or like, oh, I made it through this barrier of boredom and into a space that was so much better. And then it helped everything. Okay, so we can flow in that direction. If you're not in a space where that's happening, you can flow the other direction and say, hey, I'm just going to lean into this fasting practice. I'm having trouble in this mental space, but I can dial in on this food. I can eat at noon and I can eat at 6. I can get in a groove like that. And see, that can flow back around too as we open up that fasting space. It's giving the body some resetting time. That is building the other side of it because we're physical and mental at the same time. When you do these sorts of things, okay, when you build these practices, in many ways, what we are doing through these different practices, whether it's exercise, eating healthy food, fasting, flowing into these mental health spaces, we're changing the hormonal structure of the body, I think is probably the most important thing. We are, I always say, wouldn't it be nice if there was a control panel like your Data on Star Trek or something, like an Android? You just hit some secret thing, the panel opens, reprogram, say, oh, we're operating this way now, and then put it back, and we just go, okay? The closest that you can get to that in any sort of natural way is to realize the way the body is set up, it changes physiologically in response to our environment and activity, okay? So, like, as a fundamental process, do you see that? The body is not static, it's dynamic. It isn't just in one state, it's flexible. This is why a human being can adapt to such extreme variation. You got people living up by the North Pole and it's frozen, and you got people living on the equator where it's hot all the time. Some people living in almost total darkness. Some people, in the sun all the time. So, do you see some people eating a completely vegetarian diet? Some people are carnivores. Like, the human system can thrive on basically every type of environment that you could find on Earth. The human being can survive and adapt because the whole system is incredibly flexible. And that flexibility is adjusting and responding in a conversation with the environment. So now we are here in an environment, in a space that we are creating for ourselves. This is how we bring in the right brain, every creative act and process to create the type of environment that supports the flourishing of the body. So the body responds. So how does it respond? Hormones is how the body communicates. Hormones are what, everything's dark in the body. If we think about it this way, it's not like people seeing things. Some people say, actually, interestingly, some types of light actually in the body. Very fascinating now that I think about it. But think it is basically dark. Cells, the way they talk to each other, they have communication signals, chemicals that are telling all the other cells, here's what I'm seeing, here's what I'm experiencing. And then there are protocols and pathways. Oh, these signals are present, means this type of thing is going on. Here we run this program. So say, we don't like the program that is running in the body, you see? Say, right now the program that is running in the body is weight gain, right? This is like a program that is running because more calories coming in that are needed, which leads to hormones, insulin being high. When the energy is high, insulin high. Energy is reactive, right? Think of energy, think of a fire can burn you, right? That energy is present, heat, okay? Sugar like that in the body is reactive. You can basically get burned on it. The delicate lining of the inside of your blood vessels got to be very tightly controlled. Don't want the fire out of control. So insulin comes in, jams the extra energy in a cell where it can be stored safely without burning things, okay? It's like we burn the energy. Got to store it safely so it doesn't hurt the body, okay? So insulin controlling that. Want to change these things. You say, if insulin is the weight-gaining hormone, amongst others, say, well, how do we get the insulin down? Okay, changing how we eat, reducing these things, changing the hormones that are stopping the signal that's telling the body to store body fat. Yes, it's about calories, but it's also about the signals about how the calories are processed. So yes, we want to change calories. I say more importantly, we want to get at the root level, change the hormonal structure so the body's in a state where the hormones are saying, let's just burn this energy up. You see what I'm saying? Now, the same thing, that's on the physical side, and then on the mental, emotional side. Other hormones controlling these things. Like we did the talk on inflammation, on chronic stress, that the normal physiologic functions of cortisol, the stress hormone, supposed to be released in small amounts overnight, helps our muscles and tissue to repair. That when we are in a chronically stressed state, that hormone gets launched out all the time. It destroys its natural function, sends a different message, right? Part of signaling in the body, like, what is the frequency? Cells know this. What are the frequency of these things? Hormonal patterns on some sort of cycle, different than hormones coming all the time, sending a different message to the body. When chronic stress is coming in, leads to all these pro-inflammatory pathways. Basically, body thinks it's under attack. Need to be in like fight or flight mode all the time. Is like immune system primed. This is how, amazingly, chronic stress can lead into autoimmune disease. Holy cow, like, it's like when you're not exposed to it, you say, oh, like, how could that be the case? As I go back and watch the talk on inflammation, and we went through the pathways of to realize that this stress, the experience in the mind, flowing out hormonally through every part in our body, including adrenal glands, cortisol, heading out, interacting with the immune system, and then the immune system, of course, responsible for autoimmune disease amongst 100 other maladies in the body. So we want to get into a deep level of health and healing in the body. So we want to reset that hormonal structure. Then the hormonal structure of the body in its natural state, grounded, at peace, contentment. We don't have chronic cortisol elevation. Everything's back to its natural rhythm, where we get a little bit of cortisol just in the proper amounts to help the body, and then come back into this centered space of peace and contentment, where the body says, hey, everything is okay here, brings the pressure down, take the immune system off of high alert. Immune system's like an army. You got chronic stress as it thinks we're under attack. They got the guns out, ready to kill stuff. It's like you want the message coming out. Parasympathetic flow. So we've talked in this session, swallow the pride. Say, I'm okay in this very grounded, humble space, even doing nothing. It's worth it to me to go through the unpleasant mental experience of flowing into a meditation space, because that's the barrier to entry. I made it through it. I wanted to hit the phone. I didn't go to it. I made it. I wanted to walk out of the room and do anything else, including something good, like taking a walk. Like, wouldn't I rather take a walk now? Isn't that good and healthy? Of course it is. But in everything in its place, maybe what I really need to do is be okay not even taking a walk. Like we're saying, let go of the good things to make room for something better. To get into this mental space where you're like, oh, actually, I'm okay here now. That space. See, now you're finding contentment. Very hard to find in this culture. I am doing my personal best to find it for my own self. It's been a journey. I am trying to share out that experience of how to do it. This, in my experience, is the path to do it. To flow through that space. Let the nervous system calm down. Think what the nervous system is. That's part of the communication. We got communication through the nervous system. We got communication through hormones. And they're all in feedback cycles with each other. Look what just happened, like your question, in the body. When we actually shut off the phones and the screens, sat in the space, experienced the unpleasant experience, the feeling that is like anxiety of having to distract ourselves from the difficult task of just doing nothing, means just being present with ourselves. Think about, okay, wouldn't it be nicer to be with a friend? You say, oh, well, if I was a friend, then we could talk. Isn't that good? Yes, of course it is. Are you friends with yourself? Right? A meditation is like getting to be friends with yourself, something we don't do, right? I went through my entire life up until like 3-4 years ago. No real relationship like that, not spending any time. I was like, the last thing I want to do, sit in a room just by myself. What am I going to do? I mean, I start feeling anxious right away. Is it even something you can do? I didn't know. I didn't. I was like, oh, you mean I can like kind of talk to myself? Like, what is that? Isn't that like weird? Can kind of feel kind of weird. But then you realize, oh, like what is actually happening there? We think about some of the things we've talked about over the past weeks and months. Do we love ourselves? Are we kind to ourselves? Or are we judging ourselves? Or are we punishing ourselves? And is our attempt to get healthier actually a punishment for some unresolved emotional thing that we haven't done? See, we're really getting deep now into trying to untangle all that. This is the space. It's like you get into that space and then out of it, and then you find, oh, is contentment here? And when you get into that space, then you can start asking some of these questions. Then answers, then issues start coming up. Then you can start to think in a more grounded, real, rational space. Like, what is actually true here? What is happening in my life? And we don't have to just run away from it right away. Like most of life is like, oh, what about this thought? Like, oh, distraction. Like, oh, I'll go do something. Don't want to think about it. Okay. But once you get out of that cycle, we're in more of a flow state. I'll tell you, once you break through that boredom barrier, once you start to center, something about how this works, we got clock centers in the mind keeping track of time. A lot of times in our society, those things are like hyper primed. We're like, oh, we just know. We always know, don't you know? Oh, it's been about 30 seconds since this. Oh, it's been about a minute since that. Like we're so dialed in on these time. I think part of that experience flowing is getting out of that cycle where we kind of disengage that clock center that is always so dialed in, suprachiasmatic nucleus in there, okay? Like, let's shut that down a little bit. We pay a little less attention to that. That's how we can start flowing through a space, like greater amounts of time passing. We're not so aware of it, really. See, the pressure's coming off. This is my experience at the lake. The first 10 minutes I was there, I mean, I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. This is supposed to be a vacation. I'm supposed to be having fun, right? Okay. But then 80 more minutes after that went by. I'm like, are we done already? Like all of a sudden, like an hour went by and I had been thinking all these beautiful thoughts about like the wind flowing through the trees is like the breath that I'm breathing. And I was just having the most beautiful types of thoughts that I would never think about in my regular life. But see, that is the process of coming into balance. Like, there's not really another way to do it that I have found. If you're aware of it, let me know. I want to learn. If there is a better way. But this is the way that I have found. To come into that space, and then the breathing helps. That was the message from the trees, right? I'm watching the wind blowing through the trees, watching the trees are swaying in the wind, realizing, oh, I'm breathing in this same air. I was like, I'm breathing in the peace, the contentment, breathe out the negative. That breathing, that's part. This is my long answer to your short question. What's happening in the body? The breathing is supporting that, getting that parasympathetic outflow. So much of health can be contained just in that one simple process. A deep breath in and out. When do you ever do that? You do that when everything is okay. You do that in a space where you're not rushing to be somewhere else. And that is literally communicating to the body, everything is okay. We can settle down. If you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling overwhelmed, take the deep breath. Stretch out that diaphragm. The signal is actually triggered by the diaphragm. Okay, we got vagus nerve coming down, innervates the diaphragm, open up the lungs, sending that signal back to the brain. Oh, we're taking a deep, slow breath here. Body knows. Then that flows out into the body, says everything okay. That is heading back out, telling the adrenal glands, chill out, crank down the cortisol production. So the physical process of deep breathing, pairing that into a meditation space, absolutely. Even just regular breathing, can be some deep breathing, just regular breathing, bringing awareness to it, help to slow the rate. These things, very synergistic process. Because as we're making it through that space, we're calming the mind. Breath is the physical experience in the body. Like see, because we're one thing, we're connecting it. The physical body is calming down. The mind is calming down. We're having racing thoughts. We breathe through it. We're using, this is the same thing, fasting, meditation, breathing, thinking. We're using each side of our mental and physical space to move us forward in health so that everything can come into balance. So that we can be grounded and move forward in health. I super enjoyed sharing this space with you today. To me, this experience of our session together today also mirrors this same process that we've been talking about. I'll just tell you my experience right here in this moment as just a guy doing this session mirrored the same experience that I experienced in the woods. I spent yesterday evening journaling, reflecting on pride, reading this, talking, thinking in my own life about how we move forward in health in a space like this. And I get a topic like that, and I kind of plan out, the idea of what I want to say, but I don't plan out an hour and 7 minutes. I get the topic, the ideas, how I start. My experience, I'm a little anxious, in the first 5 to 10 minutes of this session. I'm really aware of how much time has passed. I'm thinking, okay, here are points that I want to hit. Here's how I want to do things. And just like that meditation space, like I was saying, I'm by the lake, 10 minutes, pretty tough, and then the next 80, gone, a flow. That was the experience of this show for me, I sit in a space, I'm like dialed in, I'm feeling anxious, like I experienced some anxiety. And then we tripped into a flow, and all of a sudden I'm looking at the clock and it's like an hour later. Very interesting. Where, and I thank you for being here and sharing your thoughts. And so much of it is a flow with our conversation, even just with the chat and the things. So it has created a meaningful experience for me. I appreciate being able to really dive in and think about these things and the experience of it. And I love that there's no barriers to it. And I am hoping that it is helpful to you. And I'm sending my best thoughts out into this system. I would love to be able to connect more broadly with people about it at some point. So I'm open to receiving it. If you know people that would benefit from having an experience like this and having a conversation, participating, do tell them to swing in and have a chat with us. Love it. I will look forward to sharing more thoughts and time with you tomorrow. Be well, everybody.